A project presupposes the existence of a customer ready to finance the realization of a product for which he expresses a need. For small projects, this need is often not clearly formalized. The clarification note acts as a mission statement or management plan. It is therefore a key element of the project repository. Its formalism is important. It consists of a title with the name of the project, 8 specific chapters. Context, input data, object, product, objectives, actors, consequences and constraints, the date, the version and the signature of the customer and the project manager. The first chapter, called the context, is a summary of the project client's political orientations. In just a few lines, it situates the project in its environment. It describes the customer, business sector, type of company, number of employees, the economic context and the issues at stake. Indeed, the project's goals and the stakes for the customer will provide the framework for the objectives to be achieved. You can also describe how the idea for the project came about, and the technical concept, if chosen. This section will enable anyone to understand why and by whom the project is being implemented. The second chapter concerns the project's input data. These are the contractual documents inherent to the project. They can be very voluminous and complex for some large projects, due to the many previous studies. For a small project, the documents often boil down to an email, a letter, or nothing at all. Indeed, sometimes the project manager may be the first to work on the subject. In such cases, he or she will have to identify and gather the input data himself or herself, by interviewing the various players involved or consulting available sources of information. These may include contracts, quotations, specifications, previous studies, emails, technical drawings, procedures or reports from similar projects. In this chapter, the documents are not summarized, but only referenced and exhaustively listed. The purpose of the project is to outline the main stages of the project. This chapter describes what we're going to do. There are phases and limits to the project. So, for example, here are the phases of a project to write an educational book. There's the needs analysis, the design, the writing, the correction, and finally the publication. Be careful not to confuse this with the project product, which describes the deliverables of the project. These are the physical products or services delivered to the customer at the end of the project. It may be a file, a prototype, or a product to be used. In the previous example, the product is the publication of a pedagogical book on a certain number of copies. Project objectives must be quantified. They indicate the deadline, budget, quality, and performance to be achieved. Deadlines can be product delivery dates, or key dates, also known as project milestones. The budget concerns the cost of labor or materials required to complete the project, but may also indicate the cost of manufacturing the product, or a break-even point. Quality can be expressed in terms of results, for example an after-sales service rate, a recycling rate, or a staff reclassification rate. Finally, performance targets can be product characteristics, production quantities, or other. The next step is to list all the players involved in the project. A communication plan can even include a summary of their respective roles and the communication rules to be adopted. The main players are the prime contractor, the customer, the project team, partners, subcontractors and users. The expected consequences are quantified targets, measurable after a certain period of operation of the project product. For example, this could be an improvement in productivity, sales, modernization of the production tool. Finally, we'll list the project's constraints. In other words, anything that could hinder the project's smooth running. Constraints are additional requirements in relation to the characteristics and performance of the product to be produced. Cost, quality, and deadline objectives can also be constraints if they are difficult to achieve. For example, there may be regulatory constraints, laws, safety, standards, changing a standard during the project, patents, obligation to use a competitor's patent, or difficult production conditions.